feel like I heard a study was talking about like yoga pants and how most of them have like the lycra and the spandex and how it's actually, or even some of them are coated with certain chemicals that I don't even know what they're called. Who knows? I mean, sorry to throw these companies in the bus, and I've shopped at them, trust me, a lot. I don't shop as much after COVID and having kids and being at home a lot. I really don't shop as much. But fast fashion, I was Forever 21 and Target, and don't get me wrong, I still, this hat's from Target, okay? And it's probably made in a factory and it's not great. We can talk about that in a second, but coated with chemicals, and it's not healthy for us either to be on our skin all the time. Hey everybody, welcome to Lauren.live, the spirituality and health podcast. I've got Alyssa Couture with me today. How you doing?
I'm good, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm really excited about today because this actually goes back to something that I studied and worked in the field of fashion. So we're going to talk about how that is intertwined with spirituality, which I think a lot of people wouldn't put two and two together, right? But we'll touch a little bit on sustainability. But Alyssa is a fashion author, the founder of Healthy Fashion Campaign, and the author of Healthy Fashion, The Deeper Truths. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that can play a role in our mind, body, and spirit. So let us know who you are and how you got into this field, and then we can kind of just see where the conversation flows.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm 36 now, and when I started my fashion work, I was 15 years old, working in fashion retail. And I've worked in fashion retail for 15 years. And, a lot of people don't find retail to be corporate structure, but it is. It's fashion retail is the part of the corporate industry. It's just a sort of funnel off of corporate retail. But I studied fashion as well. I studied at Academy of Art University, and I had a passion for fashion even when I was a little teenager, drawing stick figures of illustrations of designs. And I worked up into my illustration career. I had published artwork in a book and a deck of Oracle fairy cards. So I have a strong background in fashion illustration, and with my retail background in retail management, visual merchandising, styling, customer service, I was really able to get connected with the customer, the consumer. I was really able to connect with what people want to wear. And also with my interest in styling, I was able to help people, dress people. And I noticed through all of my work in retail, I traveled around quite a bit. So I probably worked at 12 different shops, at least 12 different fashion retail shops, at least. I was able to sort of dabble into different aspects of the fashion world too with my entrepreneurial work. Fashion journalism, fashion show production, fashion illustration, fashion design. I had a handmade fashion brand that had been entered in the Saks Fifth Avenue Talent Search competition, which was really nice because it showed the taste and caliber of my work and what I am about. I'm very interested in modern, fresh fashion for alternative health and healing. So with my background in fashion merged with my spirituality, I had lived and worked in multiple ashrams and monasteries, studying yoga and meditation and spirituality, and I've read lots of different metaphysical works, studying New Age occult topics. I really felt like fashion can be more spiritual. Fashion can be more holistic. And the new trend right now is the wellness trend. And the coronavirus really brought that in. The coronavirus, people kind of want to dress more comfortably. They want to dress with the athleisure, the minimalism, the activewear. People want to wear clothes that perform well and, you know, still with the style aesthetic. I mean, we can't get rid of the creative aspect of style. I mean, that's what makes fashion. So I tend to be a little bit plain with my outfits. I'd like to be more like Lauren's style. She's a little bit more interesting. So
not always. Actually, you're right, because ever since COVID, I work from home and then I had a baby. And most days you'll find me in yoga pants. Don't get me wrong. So this is an excuse to dress up, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, I believe too, some of the luxury markets where they make athleisure and more minimalistic clothing like yoga pants and make it more designer. I think that's going to be a new trend too, bringing that high-low fashion and balancing it together. So I guess with my background, it really brought me to the point where I needed to write this book about healthy fashion. I needed to start my campaign, Healthy Fashion Campaign, and really bring some new ideas and concepts of fashion into the picture. And I still have a long way to go in regards to, business in general, but it's so much fun and it's really inspiring. I find people just like you who are very inspired and excited about the subject.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you for that. And yeah, this is great because again, like I talk about so many more obvious spiritual topics, but it's true. Like apparel and fashion and clothing, are a huge part of our life. I mean, we wear something every single day, right? And we all have our own style, or some people might say they have no style. They just dress, in the same thing all the time. Or you could go into like monasteries where it's very plain. It's more like almost like a uniform. Everyone wears the same thing. So it's really fascinating. I remember when I studied fashion, like you were saying, like mixing the low and the highs and how it plays a role in history and different occupations. It's fascinating. But I would love to dive more into how it does play a role spiritually. I mean, there's got to be something to, some people feel like, when you do dress up and kind of present yourself, you feel better. And I do feel that way sometimes. If I actually take the time to do makeup and get dressed up, I feel more confident. So can you speak a little bit to that? Just how does it play a role in how we feel and personalities and society, our spirituality?
Yes. Well, I also want to say too, I think to alleviate a lot of emotional disorders and mood disorders, just dress up and put on some makeup and you're just going to feel better instantly. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that's hard to do when you're stuck in a rut and you just, you feel like you're busy. You're too busy to get ready. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you 100%. Mental health and fashion go together so much. And I still, think that fashion and spirituality, when we have a deeper connection with our clothing, we can wear like a t-shirt and jeans, for years. And if we have that strong connection with our look and really embrace that look, it can look modern and fresh and it won't age. So I give the example of Karl Lagerfeld's outfit. He wore a very, similar silhouette and look every time he was in public. And no one thought it was boring. No one thought it was not trendy. It was a little eccentric, but that's, fashion for you. That's the fashion industry for you. People are eccentric. So I find too that it doesn't matter whether you're really interested in clothing or whether you are, more just, you're not really that interested in clothing, but you love clothing. Mm-hmm. Because we're all practicing fashion and it's like a ritual. Fashion is like a ritual. Every day we put on our clothes. It's like a sacred ritual. So I find too that part of our spirituality is embracing fashion that's an expression of ourselves as well. We really want to try to sort of bring some of that personality and some of our spiritual essence in our soul through our fashion. And one brand has a little slogan on their website, shop new clothes to reawaken your soul. And I thought that was really beautiful because like it is true when you find those specific pieces, like this turtleneck, for some reason it's a mock neck, it's not really high. For some reason, I really love this. It's so comfortable. And the silhouette is very simple and everything, but I feel like even the specific type of fabric, because it's a little stretchy and it moves with my body, it's doing something to my soul and my spirit. And we can get down to the ergonomics of designs and how fabrics move on the body and how they are in connection, relation with the human body. And with the spiritual aspect that you that you said you wanted to tap and talk into, I also noticed that when you live at the ashrams and the monasteries, people are wearing the sacred robes and the sacred dressing. And to be honest with you, when I was around the monks, when I worked at the Bhavana Society, when I was around the monks and they were dressed in their robes, there's a certain level of respect and a certain level of blessing and honor that is around these gentlemen who are wearing these robes. So there's specific silhouettes that can actually be spiritual, not just in a symbolic way, but in the literal sense. And I really loved the administrator of that retreat had said once, you don't always have to bless the person, but the person, but you have to bless the robe. When you're coming into contact with the monks and he's wearing a robe, you don't always have to bless the person, but you bless the robe. And I thought that was really significant. And I'm not trying to be like rude about not blessing people, but there's something really powerful about the robe. And there's something very powerful about that silhouette. And I believe too that adaptations of the robe that we can wear will be able to be, modernized, because not everybody can dress in a long dress, long sleeve dress, lots of layers. So I believe too that the adaptation with fashion designers that can adapt the robe, I believe that would be a really perfect way to bring in some of that silhouette and the spiritual symbolism of that silhouette into people's wardrobes.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because now I'm thinking about typically, in a religious setting, or like in a monastery or in a church, the dresses or nuns, it's very conservative, right? I mean, you're covered up, not much skin is shown. That's, part of that's obviously, why they're doing that. It goes in with their beliefs of like modesty and not being seductive or distracting. But what's also interesting, if you're more spiritual and less religious, there is something not about being provocative by any means, but being more, we were born naked, right? And our ancestors and tribes are close to naked sometimes, or showing lots more skin. And it's not viewed as sexual. So it's a cultural thing here. And other countries. But I think that's interesting because you're right, it can play a role of respect, but also I feel like having the freedom to show some skin and be your true self, there's a beauty to that. So it's really interesting how certain people could probably view it different ways. But I do feel like our culture is so like obsessed with sex, but yet it's so like repressed at the same time. It's fascinating, but I feel to be your true self, to show some skin, in my opinion, even some countries, like just showing this arm would not be appropriate as a woman, right? And I'm not being rude to other cultures. It's fascinating the cultural viewpoint on the body and how it's shown.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think, I guess what popped into my head when you were talking about exposing skin and sexuality and everything, I think that I take this as an example. Look at the aliens who wear the spacesuits. They're wearing one piece, like spandex, covering their body and they're showing every single piece of the shape of their body. You know what I'm saying? Those bodysuits that aliens wear, it's not sexy. There's something completely like normal about it, balanced, healthy, and they're not doing anything sexual about it. So I believe that we've been brainwashed as a society to really have to visualize and see outfits as sexual. And I think that every country is sort of like dealing with this sexual suppression, because whether you dress in the robes and everything and covering everything from head to toe, you're still kind of like doing that sexual suppression thing, because you're like hiding.
It feels repressed a little bit for people that don't dress like that. Again, I'm trying to be respectful, but yeah.
No, I believe that we have to become more balanced as a society and less brainwashed in regards to our fashions and what's healthy for us. But when I think of people who are dressed and exposing themselves or whatever, some people just don't look bad, and some people do. Some people could wear the same outfit, that's kind of, whatever, revealing, but they don't look like they're being sexy or overtly sexy. And I think that's because our energy body it shows. We're exposing everybody to our outfit. It's not always about the outfit, it's the energy of the person. It's what they feel. If I don't want to get too like blunt, but if someone watches pornography, they can create a portal, an evil portal, through watching that type of TV. And then when they wear those outfits, that energy can be exposed on them and from with their aura. So it's not always about the outfit. I always like to say that it's also the aura, it's the person's energy that they're exuding. And someone could be a lot more wholesome, but but expose more skin, and it doesn't make them overtly sexual.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you can put the same outfit, like you said, on two different people, and they wear it very differently, and how you style it, and then your energy, how you're portraying yourself. That is actually fascinating. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we could really analyze this. I mean, it's fascinating. Just and there's no right or wrong. Like you said, you prefer to dress a little bit more plain, and sometimes I do too, and then other times I like to be a little bit more, edgy or loud. And that's interesting too, to kind of dive deep into. You just like to be more comfortable and kind of just chill, or do you want, and some people maybe do it because they want more attention, or they're just expressing themselves. Again, take the negativity or positivity out of it. But then, really you ask yourself, like, do I want to dress more stylish, or do I feel like I have to dress up and I'd rather dress more plain? That's interesting too, to kind of look within confidence and the energy that you're giving to yourself and to others. Some people don't want to be noticed, and that's okay, but it could also not be okay, because then maybe you're not being your authentic self because you're harboring stuff. I mean, we're getting really deep, but I think we're breaking it down of how it kind of is a spiritual and an emotional thing. And I think people just, maybe they don't think that much about it. You just get up and get dressed, but it actually, the way that you present yourself, there's a lot about telling about yourself through that.
Right. And I will add that in forms of survival, not everybody has the chance to dress the way they want to. With people who have lower budgets. And I believe that, however, there's something that happens with, say, homeless people that dress in whatever they can wear. And I think it's very special because they're given specific pieces that can not just resonate with themselves, but protect themselves. And that sense of protection is really an obvious example with the people on the streets and what they wear and whether they choose to wear it or not. And a lot of fashion designers have gained a lot of inspiration from not just streetwear, but from homeless people. And So you look at the elites and with their full walk-in closets, and they have a complete disconnection to clothes because they're wearing a different outfit every single day. And when you choose to do that, when you choose to hoard clothing, that tends to create a spiritual disconnect. And I'm not saying everybody should have a Zen little mini wardrobe. You can have a walk-in closet and actually it can be Zen. But I'm talking about in general sense. Those people who are using clothes as a shallow form of ego versus people who are wearing clothes that are special to them, that have more meaning and connection. I think there's something very important about that, and especially with the fast fashion, they're catering. Fast fashion is catering to that need for more, and it's almost like junk food. We want to eat more junk food. We want to eat more junk plastic fashion. So there's the polyester is also another issue within sustainability. But back to your subject and back to what you were speaking. Actually, what was your original question? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I was just more analyzing just what people choose to wear, and is there a deeper, not meaning behind it, but like, I don't know, just how people portray themselves, you know what I mean? And again, it's not bad or good. It's just how you present yourself can say a lot. And yeah, I appreciate you bringing in like budget and stuff, and where you are in your life. You might also, if you're not feeling well, you might not put as much effort in. Makes complete sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I noticed you you really are put together, and there's something to be said for that. When you can look put together and everything, you're giving energy to others. It's not just, you're giving energy to yourself, but if you're out on the street walking and you're really looking fashionable and good and everything, you're giving other people energy. So it's like this energy exchange. You're helping other people, not just yourself, when you take some time with fashion. And it doesn't mean you have to have $1,000 outfit on, but at the same time, when we can really find those pieces that work for us, that are kind of meant for us, and help support not just our physical body, but our mental body, our emotional body, our spiritual body, our energetic body. That's when people can see that it goes beyond style. It creates almost a supernatural activity of dressing in a sacred way, dressing in a futuristic, modern approach. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah, and I agree. I definitely have struck up conversations with random people, based on their outfit or based on mine. It is kind of a cool exchange. You may not have spoken to someone otherwise. But yeah, I think it's all about balance and how you perceive it. And like you said, you could have a walk-in closet and be completely zen and grateful for everything in there, or you could have a walk-in closet. I mean, sorry, I got to just throw them under the bus. You have like the Kardashians, and it's just like ridiculous. Like, it's not sustainable. It's not normal. The relationship there, I think I remember like an interview a long time ago. I think Madonna said she never wears like a pair of underwear more than once. And I was just like, well, good for you. But like everybody else in the world does not have that luxury or whatever. But I think, yeah, you could view fashion as, kind of, I don't know what the right word I'm looking for, like frivolous. And, I'm sure there's been times in my life, of course, I wear something to fit in. We all do. You do it subconsciously. It's cultural. What's trending? Oh, I want to wear that too. But then I think it's fun to be able to put your own personal spin on it and make it unique. But I really liked what you talked about with your turtleneck. This goes with anything in life. I think, again, people think more about like praying for food and you're grateful for the food you're about to eat. You could really dissect that. I'm grateful for the farmers that made it. You could really go dive deep. I'm grateful for this shirt and how was it made, or who picked the cotton. I mean, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't have the shirt, right? So everything is so connected. And I think if you can be grateful for something that you're wearing and you feel good in it, then that's like amazing. That's so cool. And I think, I remember like as a young child wearing a new pair of shoes to school. Like I got so excited about it. Part of it's culturally, I'm fitting in, but I also, if you're grateful that you got a new pair of shoes and you love them and you like how you feel, I think that's amazing. That should be, celebrated.
Yes. Yes, and it's a science too. There's theory and academic concepts involved within fashion, and I think what we're doing and moving into within the fashion industry is starting to realize that psychology is going to play a large role. There's going to be more studies and tests, experiments in regards to why we wear the certain materials that we wear. I do talk about sustainability, but I really come from the holistic picture of plant-based fashion being the key to sustainable fashion. It can bring up a lot of social, economic communities within the underdeveloped communities that are using, not a non-advanced textile machinery, and they have lots of different types of plants that they could bring into production, which would create more economic production for them. Basically, with this, I don't know if this is basically something that you're interested in. Do you like to talk about fibers?
Yeah, I mean, I studied them in textiles. You got cellulose, okay. You got yeah.
Okay. So basically, right now, the demand is polyester, acetate, acrylic, and the animal fibers is niche. It's 1%, and it's always going to be niche: wool, cashmere, angora, camel, whatever. And then there's the plant-based, and the two most popular is cotton and linen. But we cannot make a demand of clothing 7 billion people with cotton and linen alone. That's why I developed, I'm researching, and there's been definite progress with plant textiles within all kinds of different countries. Rami, nettle, pina, banana textile, lyocell tencel is actually becoming much more popular. So we need to create the demand of a lot of different plant types in order to make it take over polyester. And right now, polyester is the major issue of why there's, climate crisis. There's a major issue of the pollution, because we can't keep cracking into the earth and sucking what some would call the blood of the earth, which is oil. And it is also slightly acidic because when you wear it, it's not breathable. There are some ergonomic synthetic fabrics. There are. I still wear some synthetic fabrics, and I'm not dissing it, but I believe in order to have a really healthy wardrobe, we should definitely think about wearing more cotton, more linen, more hemp, more bamboo, more of those fibers that are pH balanced and breathable, and just better for the earth too, in regards to producing it.
Yeah, and healthier for us too, because I feel like I heard a study was talking about like yoga pants and how most of them have like the lycra and the spandex, and how it's actually, or even some of them are coated with certain chemicals that I don't even know what they're called. Who knows? I mean, sorry to throw these companies under the bus, and I've shopped at them, trust me, a lot. I don't shop as much after COVID and having kids and being at home a lot. I really don't shop as much. But fast fashion, I was Forever 21 and Target, and don't get me wrong, I still, this hat's from Target, okay? And it's probably made in a factory and it's not great. We can talk about that in a second, but coated with chemicals, and it's not healthy for us either to be on our skin all the time. So I do, yeah, I really do agree with you. There needs to be more of a demand for these natural fibers. And the thing that's so hard is most fast fashion and most retailers that are providing for the majority of public aren't the best quality.
Well, I agree with you. And I also say fast fashion is basically polyester and synthetics has infiltrated every single market. Contemporary fashion, you can't go into a contemporary store or retail store without finding 90%, at least 90% synthetic. And even then in the ready-to-wear department in couture, I mean, it's all polyester. It's a vicious cycle is what we're doing. We're creating the demand because we keep buying it.
Right.
And so I think that collectively we're naturally going to become more progressive. And there's lots and lots of industry talk now talking about circular fashion. And the circular approach is biodegradable fibers. And biodegradable fibers are plant-based fibers. Yeah. So with Target, some of them have the little capsule collections with some sustainable things that they're doing. And I don't discourage mass fashion because Target's never going to go away. But, everybody has to consider sustainability and even moving into the direction of healthy fashion. And I would really like to start, doing consultations and making companies, consider the complete concepts of healthy fashion and having them infiltrate in the market and in the industry, because healthy fashion goes goes beyond sustainability. Healthy fashion is curing the body. And when we cure the body with fashion, we cure the environment. And I believe there's a void in the industry. We're constantly fixated on the planet, but what we aren't really completely noticing is, what do we need? What does the human body need? Because if we know what the human body needs, then the planet naturally fixes itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's part of it. But even though fashion is like so complex, I mean, there's thousands of different topics. There's thousands of different directions to take. It's not like a simple answer. Right. But there's definitely specific things that we can do that will help promote health for ourselves, health for our wardrobe, health for the industry and the planet as well. And if you want me, I can tell you some of the concepts.
Yeah, before we dive into that, I do want you to. I just wanted to touch on that. Thank you for bringing this up, and that's a large part of what I want to talk about today. And luckily there are some brands that are becoming more sustainable, and like you said, it just goes back to demand. But I just think it's so hard, like you said. Well, sure, you should tell us actually before, but I do want to touch on just what was there was a video, there was a documentary, and you probably saw it. I can't remember what it was called. Was it like Think or so? I can't. Do you recall what documentary I'm talking about? It focused all on the workers.
Rana Plaza.
Okay. That really touched me, and just how like the workers are being overworked and too many hours. They're not getting enough breaks, and it really broke my heart. And then I thought to myself, when I'm buying from these fast fashion, and if we don't buy, then these people aren't going to have jobs. It's like this vicious cycle. But then I'm like, I don't want to support these companies because I feel like it's very unethical, the way that they're treating employees, the way that the factory workers, the way that they're treating the earth. It's kind of like, if I don't, but everyone else is still, Target's still going to exist. So it's like this horrible cycle. But like you said, if we demanded it shift, then they could start using other products. The thing is, it always comes down to cost for these. And like I said, I used to work in the industry. I know it's always about margin. It's always about timelines. But that's the thing, is those are the things that make these workers overwork, just because, buyers are giving you purchase orders for, I want this to hit, by Christmas. And then you're rushing into the factory. They're having to go into overtime. It's this horrible cycle. How do we demand it? I guess it's awareness. And I think it's starting now. We are becoming more conscious. There's people like you who are talking about this. This is a good sign, but it feels so hard to really change.
Yes. Well, I think that everybody has to kind of pitch in, but the big top brands are making millions. Some fashion brands are making millions, and those millions of dollars are being hoarded. They're not being dispersed into production. So that alone is going to be helpful if they start just doing more effort with textile production. That's less labor, for one. Making fashions that don't require that extra work, because some, those artisans are spending 20 hours on a top, hand beading sequence on a shirt. I mean, that's just one example, but what I'm saying is what we really have to come down to is technology of the textile manufacturing machines. It really comes down with how some of these fashion brands are making enough money to be able to disperse it into the production piece. It's kind of a complex question. And I really believe that this is sort of something that we all kind of have to collectively work on. But if we focus on the healthy aspects of fashion, then we're going to be creating the demand for more of that. If we focus on, say, certified fabrics, organic certified fabrics, and focusing on brands that use organic certified fabrics. If we focus on less polyester, then it's going to decrease the retail shops amount of inventory. Right. And if we can just simply purchase less polyester, that alone is going to help. But what do we do for these underdeveloped countries that need a paycheck and that need to keep working? That's where there needs to be better production in general. There needs to be technology in place which would help these underdeveloped countries, as well as programs to help them get more professional, be able to step up into the different levels of the industry. Because I don't think everybody should be able to, have to sit behind a sewing machine all day. So that too, there needs to be circulation. There needs to be, there's lots to talk about in regards to that. But I would mostly say that it's to boycott companies is not necessarily the answer. I think pick the pieces of garments from those companies that are good, and then they will produce more of it. Right. If all of the Targets or whatever, I'm not labeling different companies, but you said it first. Yeah. So, but if we say, all these companies like Target, they do more and more capsule collections, and everybody's purchasing from these capsule collections, and these capsule collections include eco fashions, then it's going to help. Yeah. But more and more, of ethics in general has to be involved. I myself have been involved with unethical situations. So I completely understand when people are being not treated well, but what can you do? We have to raise as a collective. They say that this planet is a darkened star. They say that this planet has no aura. The aura has been damaged completely. So we have to lighten the star of this planet. We have to raise the vibration collectively. And it's not going to just be the humans that do it. We need to have advanced beings that will intervene and help bring this planet into a less negative, toxic, polluted place.
Yeah, nicely said. Yeah, I know it's a dive. You can dive deep into that. And like you said, it's very complex, but you painted the picture well and answered that well. And obviously we have experience. I have a little bit of knowledge on like social compliance and auditing factories, making sure that they're in compliance. But that's, you go once for a visit, they could be all perfect. And then when you're not there, it's mayhem again, right? So it's so complicated. And I think you're right. You can't boycott everything. We literally wouldn't have anything. I mean, you could choose if there's certain brands that you just really don't agree with ethically. But I think, buy the things that seem more green. Luckily, there are companies on a positive note. There are more conscious. I know it's so funny. We treat our kids like little angels, and I buy her organic pajamas, but then I don't buy that for myself, right? Because I'm like, well, I've already been wearing all the polyester for years. But Burt's Bees, for instance, I can get it on Amazon, and it's organic, and it's not that much of a different price. So there are ways to do it. There are companies to support, like you said. It's about awareness. Maybe hopefully this podcast, the whole point, it sheds awareness to people that maybe haven't thought about this. But I think it's possible. Look at the food industry. When we were kids, organic wasn't really as available. And now look at all the places that have organic. Costco has tons of organic produce. It's more available. We need to make it a standard in the fashion industry as well. It's a huge, people just don't, it can get stressful, but it's also just choose what's important to you. Choose awareness. Think about what you're putting in and on your body, whether it's food. This is another, we want to get into it, but like cotton, tampons or pads, most generic are bleached and are sprayed, and you're putting that in your body. Same thing if you're wearing it all day. Our skin is so absorbent. So really, you're right. We have to demand it. We have to be more aware. It's all about consciousness. That's what this podcast is all about, and having people like you to help spread that awareness. So even if you can just make a few small changes, buy your kids, if you can afford it. It's not that much more, really. Burt's Bees pajamas, you go to Target and buy the synthetic. Target's, I'm picking on Target. I love Target, but there are ways to do it. There are ways to find, you can budget and put your money in certain places, what's important to you. But there's a lot more organic kids, PJs, I think, than adults. So we should change that and also have more available for adults, right? So, yeah. And I don't mean to like throw names out there, but after watching that documentary, I thought, hey, these companies should be exposed. Like you said, they've got millions of dollars. They could hire more workers to give other workers more time off. There are ways to do this. So in some ways, it's like I do want to call them out because it is completely unethical. We don't need to name them. Fast fashion, go to a mall. It's all of them. The big ones that have just huge spaces with thousands of pieces in there. You can bet it's fast fashion. So, anywho, it's a in-depth topic, but I'm really glad that there are people like you that are speaking about this and helping raise awareness. And I think it's going to raise the light of the planet. This is just one industry, right? We have food, apparel, but apparel's a big one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So thank you for all that you're doing, the work that you're doing and your energy. And like you said, there's just so much darkness, but I do believe that light is shining through and you can always find it. You just have to look.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with everything that you said. I've had similar thoughts myself, and I think that we're heading into the direction, but a lot of brands, they don't really want to hear it because we're not really necessarily ready to be more plant-based. But it's a matter of introducing more plant-based items, because lots of these circular fashion companies are supporting and promoting tencel, lyocell, linen, rami, banana fabric, aloe vera fabric, cactus fabric, water hyacinth stem fabric, lotus fabric. There's so many.
That's cool.
But even too, we don't just need to be talking about plants in regards to healthy fashion. There's the entire spiritual, energetic, emotional, mental components, and we did tap into some of those topics. In order to be a healthy fashion company, you don't necessarily have to be plant-based, but if you say, if you're giving apparel that's ergonomic, designed, performed to help the body breathe, to help the body move, to design in a specific way that it is literally activating the multi-dimensional body. That too is an important aspect of healthy fashion. So there's different concepts, even with feng shui and 4-element fashion, embracing nature's earth, air, fire, and water elements, and mimicking them in the designs, as well as feng shui. When you go into a feng shui home, you just feel like you can breathe. You see the waterfalls, the natural, statues and stone decorations and everything. And I think we can adapt feng shui into fashion more and more as well, in order to help our bodies and our minds. So there's multiple different concepts, and I know sustainability is one of the biggest issues, but I think if we talked about some of the wellness aspects and holistic aspects that we've spoken about, that's going to actually advance fashion, and is going to make us more spiritually in tune. We're going to become more intuitive with our clothes, our wardrobes, and our fashion companies. And in that way, we can naturally and collectively have a better industry and have a better lifestyle.
I agree with you. Yeah, very nicely said. It's just fascinating because I keep comparing it to the food industry. It's like there's so much attention on food now and organic, and we realize now what we put in our bodies is truly affecting our health. I think a lot of people understand now, like a lot of our chronic illnesses are coming from things we're ingesting or breathing, chemicals we're using on products. But think of all the people that are around in those factories breathing in those horrible chemicals, and we're wearing them. And then what is that doing energetically? It's something to really think about more. And I think, there's different layers to it. But it's possible. I just think we have to, our ancestors, they weren't eating fancy, natural flavored, colored foam, weird, you know what I mean? Same thing with clothing though then. They weren't wearing Lycra, spandex, and they still were able to move about and do things. So we have to kind of tweak our expectations. I think there's still ways to have movable fabric, but can we make it a little less toxic?
They made plant-based nylon.
Yeah, see?
There's a new technology. It's very new, and companies are just now starting to use it. Okay. I just saw that in the feed. I've been waiting for plant-based nylon, just like you.
That's so cool.
So the companies have been, considering using it, and some of them are already using it.
Sure, and I'm sure it's a little more expensive, and so many are going to be slow to adopt that. But here we are demanding it. Let's do this. Companies try this out. We'll buy it.
Yes, and Lauren, I'd like to add, if you make it a good design, people are going to buy it. Yeah. It's about the design. If you make a really amazing design, because some of those luxury markets and ready-to-wear fashions, because the design is so high level, high taste, people will spend that money to wear those garments. Yeah. So within all markets of fashion, if it's good design, people will pay the extra dollar.
That's true. Maybe they need to be more the leaders then, because people that are buying those higher priced can afford it and will. So maybe they need to be the ones to really start it. And then hopefully the fast fashion, it'll trickle down into that, right? And then with time and technology and experience, learn how to make it a little bit cheaper so that they aren't as hesitant. But really, that's why calling these companies out, like H&M, Forever 21, Target, all of the Zaras, all those, like, okay, use some of that extra money, be ethical, put some good energy out there, and figure out how to do those things at a cost that you feel that you can afford. But I mean, it's possible. It's just we have to demand it. You're right. It really comes down to us demanding. So I hope that with time it gets better. I think it will. It's all about awareness and consciousness, right?
Exactly. No, it's happening. It's just it feels like it's slow.
It is, yeah, it does feel slow.
Speed up. It could certainly speed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because look at like you had said, the trends in organic food. People want fresh food.
Yep.
And the trends, in the car industry, everybody wants to buy cars made out of hemp. And electric and solar. I mean, it's happening in every industry. Yeah. They're even making rubber tires out of dandelion roots.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's like, and who would have thought?
Right.
And our ocean is made up of 90%. Our earth is made up of 90% ocean. We could farm seaweed easily and make seaweed fabrics.
Wow.
And it is being done. It is in production. But to wear seaweed would also be very therapeutic. And they have some tencels with seaweed powder infused in the fabrics.
That's cool. Yeah.
In Europe, they're making a sea cell, a seaweed fabric made out of, a tencel wood pulp fiber. Wow. That has been woven and has been treated with seaweed powder.
That's incredible. Yes, we'll end it on a positive note. The companies that are doing that. And, I also wanted to mention thrifting has become so much more popular too, which is a cool thing. Some of the fabrics aren't great, but at least you're not creating more waste and more new fashion. You're using what's already been around. Like, I think that's a cool trend that's really picked up. People thrifting things. I know I'm a big fan of like jewelry and accessories. I tend to prefer to get newer clothes. I mean, I'm not opposed to a piece here or there, but I love that people are doing it. And I think blending that with new clothes, like that's a cool way to be more sustainable too. So I wanted to call that out. I just think it's really neat that a lot of people are doing things like that and being more creative, making your own clothing, supporting small, shopping local. That's always a thing too, right? If you can find a brand that's some maybe Sunday markets or whatever, farmers market. Maybe there are people there that's selling, garments. I think there are ways to do it for sure. So just, you got to do your research, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. You're right. It's been so focused on in other industries, but I think it's time that the fashion industry gets more attention and this conversation starts circulating more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, I love the topic, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Retail, vintage, thrift shopping, shopping local, they're all good things. And it is a matter of doing multiple different things.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not just, one thing. And we tend to be like that as humans. We kind of do
dabble. Yeah.
But thrift shopping is fun.
It is fun. You never know what you're going to find.
Yeah. And it does help.
It does.
Sustainability is helping a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been a really cool conversation. And I want to make sure that people know where to find you. Where can people find you online?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me again, Lauren. I really do appreciate you having me speak on your show. You can visit my website at www.h as in healthy, f as in fashion, campaign.com. And I also have my social media bars on the top and bottom of my website. You can check out my social media as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, of course, so people can find you. And I really hope that this piqued, people's interest and made them just a little bit more aware. Maybe just the next time you go buy something, just start small. Like we said, you're going to buy some new PJs for your kids, hop on Amazon, which is not a perfect company, but they've got organic. Support the organic products, because guess what? Then they're going to restock more organic products. It's a way to, it's a slow way to shape the industry. So yeah, thank you again for all your work that you're doing.
Well, Well, thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and you can find me on Instagram at RealLaurenLive. Take care.